Atifoɔ yɛ ma mo akɔ ababa daily update TV no so na mɛsrɛ sɛ ne da wo ba channel so no ahete adoma no subscribe sɛ me drop in latest news bia obɛgye brand no anya bi atie na yɛ ba ensen ama enkrofo bi mo afɛle pa ono Bawumia kyerɛ mu sɛ ono de nti ma ne Bible nti obey accept defeat no on pentokwa on pe violence op peace na enkrofo bi o madwen sɛ nkentokwa ne niema bɛbɔ man no mu nenso ono Bawumia de ono peace man on pe eni watimi wakame bia ɛwɔ ɔman no mu na mepɛsɛ ye bowram nensem na waka no nse ebi modu kakra yes ebi modu wakasa na epesi bowram ne etie ensem ne bi nensem foforo to aso no yeba de ka ho bia no yenso yede emu ensem ne bi ebebremo.
My whole focus was service. Once I saw the results and it was clear we were not winning this particular election, I thought it was not good to leave the country under tension for any length of time. In fact, by 3 a.m., we knew that we had lost the election. The Electoral Commission was going to take a few days to get to that conclusion, but our own collation, the data that we got from all the polling stations, was clear that we were not going to win this election. And so the question was, should we wait for the Electoral Commission to go through its processes and then announce in a few days' time, or do I go out immediately? There were different opinions, but I made the decision that it was better to go out. At 3 a.m., it was a bit early. People were sleeping. So I decided that we'll do it at 9 a.m. On Sunday morning. And so we gathered the press, and then I made my announcement that morning to say, you know, my opponent had won decisively, and we are conceding the election. And I think that that helped bring down the tension in the country and help the process of the transition. I made that early concession to preserve our peace in Ghana, because otherwise we could have had many, you know, incidents of violence across, and I could see the potential. And so I thought by an early concession, you know, everybody would relax, you know, the winners would relax, and we who had lost would also understand that we had lost. So that was it. And it was also very important that our democracy should be respected. The democracy is about respecting the will of the people. You may think you are right, but the people may express a different view. And so once the people say, this is what we want, that is it. It's no ifs or buts. You accept the will of the people. And that is it. So for me, it was very simple, because the people had expressed their views by voting in one direction, and we had to accept it. There was no other issue around that particular expression. Then, you know, I was also very concerned about the economy, because you know that foreign investment is very key to this country's economic growth. Any incidents of instability destroys confidence of foreign investors in any economy. And we have been trying to resuscitate this economy since COVID and all of that. And it was just too critical a time to allow instability into our country. It would deter. It takes a long time to recover confidence if it is lost. And I thought it was very, very important that we make sure that there is stability in Ghana, so that foreign investment and all the programs that we've initiated, there will be confidence, and that will continue, so that we can build this economy, even if it's under a new government. Then I was concerned about security in the sub-region. any instability in Ghana, gives, succor to the terrorists in our sub-region. They will find reason to be here. And so it was very, very important for the sake of the security of Ghana to really emphasize and prioritize our stability and peace here. We thought that if any violence ensued, it will be negative for the security of Ghana and for the sub-region. So these were the reasons behind my early concession. I did it, but then after that, it seemed like a bigger deal than I thought it was. But many people seem to appreciate it, and many people in Ghana seem to really appreciate it.
Electoral Commission, where they are saying, and that's their justification, that it's not the first time re-collation is being done. That it happened especially in 2004 on many occasions under Dr. Kojo Afari-Jan. Is this a good justification for the re-collation exercise that many people continue to raise issues with?
You see, the Electoral Commission is manifesting an attitude that is raising too much suspicion. And I don't think she gets it. Now, if there's a precedent, does it make it right? And we are not, nobody is concerned about the history of the event. Everybody is concerned about the causes of the event. Why the re-collation? Because, you see, when she recounts the history of the re-collation that happened in the past, she alleged to have happened in the past, she didn't give us the circumstances under which the re-collation was done. We are concerned about the conditions, the circumstances under which she is doing the re-collation. And secondly, we have different regimes of elections over time. At the time of Afari-Jan, there was no CI 127, though of course there was PNDP Law 284. And so, if you want to justify re-collation by a recourse to historical antecedents without giving us the circumstances under which those re-collations were made, she's not doing Ghana she's doing Ghana a disservice, actually. Because if re-collation, if collation of election results are done and declarations are made, and you come back and tell us that, okay, the re-collation were not complete, one, or there was duress, your officials were compelled to make the declaration in certain circumstances, they wouldn't have done it, but for the duress. Now, all these things are allegations that might have been brought to your notice. The electoral commissioner or the electoral commission chairperson was not at the polling station. He was not at the constitutional collation centers, and definitely not at the regional collation centers. And so whatever information she had about the circumstances of declaration or collation or even counting would be information from another person. And so if you want to get at the truth of what should cause a remedy to the declaration if it is wrong, you need to hear all sides. In any event, the reasons for which the regulations are being done are reasons I believe shouldn't have taken place or couldn't have taken place with the presence of the National Security Task Force, the Election Security Task Force. And two, there were media people at the center where those allegations were made. And so the question is, how did it happen in the presence of the security that she is now calling to provide security for re-collation? Because at the collation, there was security. If the security could not prevent what had happened for her to be doing re-collation, why is he calling, or was she calling, for security for re-collation? No, there are so many questions to be answered than just referring us to historical antecedents. And so the history, even if it happened, doesn't answer to the questions people are raising about this re-collation. Now, but quite apart from that, even if it happened in the past and it is not legal, just as we had it in the parliamentary issues, there were precedents which the speaker followed. I mean, excuse my digression. But when this current speaker followed this, they said no, both of them were wrong. And the Supreme Court actually said both of them were wrong. So history actually does not make something right. The question is it right for re-collation to be done after a declaration is made and a particular candidate is declared the winner of the election? That is the question. Is it right? Is it legal? For me, the other constituencies or other places where the collation couldn't, the declaration were not done. If you are continuing with re-collation, it might make sense to me. But after the declaration, then you come back and say that no, because of ABC, the very official who should be telling us who won, told us and come back and told us that another person won. Now this raises too much suspicion that just historical antecedents cannot answer. Now, if you look into our laws, of elections, you would see clearly that all the allegations the woman is making for calling for re-collation are dealt with by the law. And she is not the one to do it. She is not the one to determine any wrong or any mistake of collating that will warrant a re-collation. That's number one. And number two, she has no authority to even determine the remedy. Re-collating is a remedy. Now, what if the cancellation was required? What if cancellation was required? Can she cancel the results of the polling stations or the constituency? She cannot. The remedies are given in law, and the authority to determine those remedies are also given. But you see, we still have a continuous endorsement of the court to these wrongdoings. And now we can't fault the Electoral Commission because a court had given an order that the re-collation be done. Under what circumstances, I don't know. Because I'm just imagining what allegations will be made before that High Court judge for him or her to make an order that a re-collation be made. Because any allegation of irregularity of the election cannot be raised in any proceeding except by an election petition, which is supposed to be issued only within 21 days of the gazetting of the results. Except that you are making allegations about corruption and bribery and treating, where the cause of action with the 21 days will start counting from the date that the corruption and bribery happened. But when it comes to declaration, when it comes to collation and all those things, you need, because you are challenging the validity of that declaration that was made. And the only place to challenge the validity of that is the High Court by a petition, which will go through a normal trial. Evidence will be taken to determine all those instances or all those allegations that are made to challenge the irregularity or the validity of the declaration. And so all parties will have the opportunity to be heard and to give evidence to support their positions with regard to it. Now you are alleging certain irregularities, and the parties who are interested are denying those allegations, and you decide to ignore them and proceed with the information your officials brought to you from the constituency collation centers and polling stations to do the re-collation. And this court, after seeing all these things, also made an order that a re-collation should be made. It's really unfortunate. I don't know what you see. We are doubling too much in partisan politics. That is driving us towards a very dangerous abyss if we are not already in it. Because, and this is being propelled by judiciary, and this is worrying. Because there is a regular path, there is a regular procedure for determining and declaring invalidity of election or declaration. In fact, one of the remedies that a high court can give after hearing allegations of irregularity or after hearing the allegations of the validity of an election or declaration is actually to declare the person who did not win a winner if the evidence shows so. And one of the remedies is to confirm the declaration. And the other remedy is actually to cancel the whole election and order perhaps a rerun of the election in those areas. Now, but if you go to the re-collation, if you order a re-collation after hearing what you shouldn't hear, for me, I think the High Court even had no jurisdiction to have entertained that application once it contains allegations that seek to invalidate the election of a particular parliamentary candidate. Because everything is wrong. The time is not due because the gazetting was not done. And secondly, it was not by a petition. And the Supreme Court has said quite recently, has struck down allegations of election validity that were made even in human rights actions by the most reverend, by Chachichikana. So why would you be making allegations in any proceedings regarding validity of election? And the High Court was entertaining such. In fact, entertained that they made an order for re-collation. Meanwhile, a re-collation is not one of the remedies stated in law to resort to if there is a determination that there is electoral irregularity. It is not. Re-collation is not one of the remedies in PNDC Law 284, which is the main enactment governing. So it is not about whether it happened before, and it is all about whether it is legal and the circumstances under which it is being done. Why is it being done? We need to know. Because when it comes to the why, it seems only the Electoral Commission chairperson has that information. Because every other party to the process is making a completely different allegation. That clearly calls for the determination by the courts. And so for me, to your question, reference to historical antecedents does not answer. It doesn't answer the questions that are being raised about this particular re-collation. especially that after the re-collation, almost all, if not all, were declared in favor of the party who was not declared at the beginning. Or they were declared by the MPP candidate. When in actual fact, the initial declaration was for the NDC. What accounted for that? What accounted for the difference in the results? But you see, things happen. And I think that, in 2020, the Electoral Commission at with regards to the election in Tachman South, produced clean sheet in court. That
Yeda masiso samoje brani bi ewo daily update TV no so.